All right, John, you want to get started?
Yeah, sure. This is John Schulzberg. I'm one of the mods on Globe Skepticism. I met Tonsofsoul on Flat Earth, and he's going to apparently disprove Flat Earth here. So go ahead.
Perfect. So I'm Tons of Soul. I'm a science nerd, but and a flat Earth enthusiast in the sense of I find it fascinating. And I'm going to talk. I'm going to explore. I'm going to basically take it as a hypothesis for the shape of the Earth, and I'm going to explore it. The first thing I want to start with is maps, because one of the great ways to let you know what things look like, what you know where you are maps. They're fantastic. And the map itself isn't necessarily the most important thing, but it's how they were created and how they're used in the case of the map of the Earth, how to navigate with them. Uh, we could start thousands of years ago when we finally got ships that could navigate the Earth. We only could use the stars and landmarks, so we wouldn't go too far from shore. We could do a little bit of navigating, other than of course the crazies out in the South Pacific who went long distances. But the thing was, they weren't super accurate. We couldn't make maps that were super accurate or super precise. So if you look at maps from the time, they were pretty. Other than you could do the coastline where you lived, but you weren't going to go too far. 1,500 years ago, we got compasses, and that let us be more accurate and more precise. Europeans made it to North America. We started being able to really understand the world around us, how to navigate it, how to get from one place to another. You could go back and forth from Europe and arrive at exactly where you wanted to. So we knew how to get there, how far it was, all that stuff. But we were still sort of compass helped us get through bad weather, but the precision wasn't there. So we're getting more accurate, but not super precise still. And then we come to the naval maritime clock. So that let us be super precise. So that was about the 1700s. And now we can basically, from the 17th to 1800s, we basically mapped the entire world. And we mapped highly detailed, other than certain specific areas we hadn't gotten to yet. And then by the time we get to the 1900s, we can fly planes across the ocean and know exactly where we're going to land, because our maps are extremely precise and extremely accurate. So we know what the world looks like, and we wrote it down, and we can use that to figure out where we are with our maps. So we have maps now that are quite precise. So we have lots of them. So we can take the map that we have here, which we can use to navigate the entire planet. We know where you are, you know where you're going, you know how long it's going to take to get there. And we've got a whole bunch of different versions of this map, which are super fun. Some of them are really funny. Like, for example, these two are hilarious. But basically, the basic idea of these maps is they are all equivalent. You can interchange between one and another using mathematical transformations, and they can all be used for accurate and precise navigation. So we know exactly where we want to go, how we get there, how long it takes, and those maps are the basis of how we do that. The second thing that they have in common is that if you ignore their transformations, they don't represent the size, shapes, or distances of the Earth's features at all. They can't do all of those three things all together at the same time. It's impossible. So what the only way that we can represent the exact size, shapes, and distances of the Earth's features is with a globe. It's the only way we can do it. And that's why maps are super important. So that's my first point. My second point is the physical geometry of a flat plane. So we have super precise maps. Let's put them to side for a second. Now let's say that the Earth is flat. So we'll take the flat plane. What we do know about the Earth is that there's an equator. We know that if you're on the equator, there are certain interesting things that happen, such as on the equinox, the sun rises the east, sets in the west, and goes right over your head. We know that you can go, if you go on a straight line along the equator, you're still on the equator. It's a pretty cool line on our planet. We also know, so for example, we can say that if you're on the equator and you turn and face west and you walk in a straight line west for a quarter of the distance of the length, if you want to say, of our planet, to about 10,000 kilometers, you will stay on the equator. So you can be here and you can have a buddy there, and you're both on the equator and you walked a straight line west. So one of the things that does automatically is totally discredits the classic flat Earth map. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory. If you go off in one direction in a straight line, you're on the equator, you're not going to stay on the equator. So this map, just based on that simple fact, is completely wrong. That you don't need anything else except the known fact that if you go straight on the equator, you stay on the equator. Now, a lot of flat earthers will say, well, this isn't the exact map and we don't know, and they're right. There are other maps. There are other maps we have where you can go on a straight line along the equator. This map, of course, has the fantastic problem of people in Russia falling off the edge. You could literally walk off it. So obviously this isn't a flat Earth map, but discounting an actual map, it is possible to walk along the equator on a flat plane and stay on the equator. So let's go back to that. Now, another thing we know about the geography of our planet is that if you are standing on the equator and you can have a buddy, if you go straight north, you take a straight line north. I just put 5,000 kilometers, an eighth of the way, the distance, but it can be whatever you want. And you can go straight south, same type of thing. You're all standing on a line together. Now, what's interesting about this is there's a certain time of the year, the equinox, where all three of us at the same time can see the sunset directly to the west of us. It's a known fact. It's pretty easy. You can test it yourself. You can get some people on the equator, all time it out. We know that that's true. So we're all standing on a line. We all see the sunset exactly due west. On a flat plane, it's not going to happen. We can't do that. It won't work. And you can see here that we can put any type of map we want underneath, any type of projection we want underneath. We're never going to see. We're never going to see that. Now, barring sunsets, another thing, I think the most important thing. So, sunset was a bit of an aside, but the more important point, because we're talking about geometry here, is that if the three of us turn west and start walking in an exact straight line, we will all meet our buddy, the green buddy, 10,000. We'll all walk the same distance and we'll all meet up at that point. And that's also a known fact of how the Earth works. So, is that possible on a flat plane? Can we walk face west and walk in a straight line and end up in the same spot? In other words, do parallel lines cross on a flat plane? They don't, but they do on Earth. So that basically, and like I said, you can put any map underneath. That basically right there is concrete proof that the Earth cannot be flat because parallel lines do not connect. How do parallel lines connect? On a globe. It's the only geometric shape where parallel lines will connect in this manner, no matter which orientation you're in. And if you go back to our maps, and if you go back to the way they're constructed, which we use to navigate the world on a daily basis, they all work this way, and they all point to the same conclusion that it is physically impossible for the Earth to be flat. And that's my second point. So over to you, John.
What was the first one again?
The first one was just maps. So the first one is we have maps that we use to navigate the entire planet, and they were all based on a globe.
Okay, so what do we use right now? Like if me or you are going to go outside and we're going to drive somewhere, what do you use? You use Google Earth or your phone? What map do they use? Do you know?
The actual projection that they use?
Yeah, what do you think they use?
I'm not sure what projection they use. I think it's the Mercator, but like designed for digital, but I don't remember.
So they use a universal transverse Mercator map. So is that the actual map of the Earth?
That's a projection. Exactly.
Point A to point B, using that map.
Exactly. Because the mathematics behind it it's a transformation of the globe. And so it is very accurate.
How do you know that? They take that map and they turn it into a globe. That's how they make Google Earth.
No, the map comes from the globe and is a transformation of that. So all of the maps can be transformed, but none of them. So for example, that's a great example. The map itself is not, if you look at it as a piece of paper, it is not accurate as to the size, shapes, and distances and of the that you travel. So what Google Maps does and what GPS does, what they do is
that's the map they use.
Exactly.
First, and then they wrap it on a globe. That's what they do.
That's what they do to present it to you. Yes. Regardless of what I'm trying to say is that map wrapped on a globe gives the right shape, size, and distance of all of the things on the planet. Now, if you're navigating from your house to, I don't know, school or work, it doesn't matter if it's flat or, it doesn't matter if it's flat or round. Even if you're driving to the town next door to you, it doesn't really matter. The point being, that map is a projection of a sphere. It isn't, the map itself isn't what things look like. It is a flat representation of something that is spherical. So how GPS translates that into doing a giant plane trip across a continent is done with the mathematics behind it, because they know that it's a projection, so they know what the distortions are and they know how to plot it. It's why, for example, when you do a flight or a measuring distance for long distances, you'll get a curved line, because it's not showing you a flat line, which is not the shortest distance between those 2 points. It's showing you the great circle, the curved line, which is the shortest distance, projecting that on the flat plane. So they know what the projection is. They know what the mathematical transformations are. They're projecting it like that for you because it's much easier than zooming in on a globe, which doesn't make computational sense. So the map is, I'm not saying it's not valid. It's a totally valid map, but it's not, you can't look at it as if that is what things look like, because that's not what things look like. And as you see on my different maps, all of those maps are equivalent. Google could have taken any of those maps and used them. Even the triangle one and the weird double pill one are all exactly the same. They are the exact same thing being transformed in different ways. So Google knows what the transformation is, and they use that transformation to do the long distance stuff.
So you think when it tells you how many miles you're driving, that it takes the globe, does a little calculation and gives you that number? That's where the miles come from in your trip?
It uses the mathematical transformations of the map to give you the miles. Whether or not it does that on a short distance, because like a lot of things, there's the real way to do it is super complex. One of the reasons why, one of the things that I love is when
zooming out to the globe again. I'm just talking about if I type in where I'm going and it tells me how many miles and how many hours it's going to take.
Yeah. So what I'm telling you is, yeah, exactly. But what I'm telling you is,
no straight lines in there.
Yes. So what I'm telling you is
these distances. That's what I'm saying.
And that
your friend 5,000 kilometers apart or whatever. Nobody's actually measuring any of this. This is just a model that's put on a piece of paper and you asserting it's real without any verification whatsoever.
The verification is that for 300 years, we've used that exact map to get everywhere we're going all the time before Google.
Never done what you said.
Before Google.
5,000 miles apart and walked at the same pace in a straight line. Has that ever happened?
I don't know. I'm not an expert on if people have done that. But what I'm telling you is
taking a model and you're replacing reality with it.
No, what I'm saying is
you go outside and you make the map based on what's outside. You don't just say the map is outside.
And what I'm saying is the entire world has been mapped with that map. That map is the map of the entire world that has been done. And that was done well before we even had planes. Okay, so maybe not the top of North America and part of the Brazilian jungle because we couldn't get there, but the coastline was done of the entire world. And all the lakes and the rivers were done before we even had planes. And it works perfectly, and it's all based on a globe. So it's not whether Google decides, it's nothing to do with Google. It has nothing to do with GPS. It has nothing to do with anything. The map that works, the map that allows us to get around the world and fly a plane from North America to England with nothing but a compass and a gyroscope is all based on a globe. So the projection of the map that you're looking at, all of the projections of the maps are based on a globe, and they all function perfectly. So
how do you know that? I mean,
Because you got to plane.
have you sailed and used a globe to sail? Or is this just a story that's told to you and you're saying the story is real?
The story of literally everyone
in a boat, and you just say, well, the globe says I go that way, so I go that way. You think that's how this works?
The map says I go this way, so I go this way, and I chart on a map. I don't know. Are you asking how to do navigation?
Adjustments, you keep going.
Exactly.
Nobody's travels in a straight line or a curved line around the globe anywhere. So every example that you used as proof has never happened.
I used one example, which is a theoretical example.
Yeah, a theoretical example.
Exactly. And it's a theoretical example that works. And the reason why it works is you can map that. You can map that. Well, we can go to solipsistic.
You can map another planet. If you've never been there, how do you know the map is real?
We can go to solipsistic things where like no one's real and we're all in a matrix. Like that's super. If you want to go there, that's cool. But what I'm telling you is, the map that we have, the map that we use is based on a globe. And when you navigate, you're navigating with the globe, and people have been navigating with the globe for 300 years.
You turn all different sorts of directions. It's just based on towers.
You know
the roads, they plot your length on the roads and they just add up the distances. There's no globe involved. You don't drive with a globe.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, so you're talking about driving next door. It doesn't matter if the scale doesn't matter if you're driving next door or not.
For that, right?
You don't need a globe for that because because and this is what
I need a globe to fly. Right?
What I'm saying is it depends on the precision that you want. So if you map on a, so let's pretend it's the thing is flat and there's not the hills and the curves, because your precision is going to be off regardless.
What your proof for the globe is, like, where is it?
My proof for the globe
that never happened. These theoretical examples. I mean, what good is that? Where's the proof?
There is no theory.
I can drive here to there, live my whole life without a globe. Where is your proof
Of course you can live your whole life without a globe. That's not an argument that it doesn't exist. Is that your argument, that it doesn't exist, that you don't need it to go to your neighbor's house? Because that's a weak argument. I'm not sure what your argument is. My argument is we have a map that we've used.
Prove it doesn't exist?
We have a map that we've used for hundreds of years.
Don't exist? I mean,
we have a map. We have a map that we've used for hundreds of years that gets us exactly where we need to go all the time.
Who did any of this? You haven't done none of this.
Well, so again, you're going back to solipsism. Do you want to go to like the only thing I know is what I can see with my own eyes? Because that's not a valid way to look at the world. If that's the way you want to look at the world, there's not even a debate, because then there's nothing that we have in common. There's no common ground where we can.
Thing that you can do to either prove the globe or disprove the flat Earth.
I just disproved the flat Earth.
Maps.
I just disproved the flat Earth just using the geometry. You
took a map and you showed what? A theoretical example that nobody's ever done. How is that proof? Where are you going with this?
Where I'm going with this is that on the globe, if you use the map that works, so the map of the world that we have, that allows us to get everywhere we're going, that has been tested.
What are you talking about?
Literally everyone who's ever
Military
traveled a long
uses
distance.
the universal transverse Mercator projection. That's what they sail with.
Exactly, which is a projection of a globe. It's a,
Freaking square, dude.
which is a projection of a globe.
You can't turn a square into a globe without there being distortions.
That's exactly what I said.
So where do the distortions show up?
The distortions show up in the size and the distances and the disposition.
Poles.
They show not just the poles.
Yeah, that's where they're going to show up. The further north and south you get from the equator, that's the whole projection.
No, there's a lot of things. It depends on the projection that you use, but in that projection, there are east-west is fine, north-south doesn't work. So north-south is wrong. And it gets worse as you go north. But the thing is, you can start your projection anywhere you want and make anything you want. The reason why that projection is used to navigate between Europe and North America is because
where it's becoming wrong.
Sorry?
Poles.
It's not the point where it's becoming wrong. No.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. Look. Here, let's have fun. Where's this one wrong? This one's wrong everywhere. Except what this one gets right is the sizes and the shapes, the continents are pretty much, well, they're better than they are on the other one. But this is the exact same map. There's nothing different between this map and the one that you're talking about, except how it's projected. There's no difference. So this one, the North Pole, is fantastic, and the South Pole looks great. They're both probably, this is one that gets the sizes and the shapes well. It gets the layout totally horribly wrong. But this is the exact same map. So it's where you choose to put the distortions. Do you know why they chose to put the distortions at the poles? Because no one was going there, because they were trying to get from Europe to North America. And that's why the center of the map is there, so that it was easier to navigate. This is literally the only reason. So you can use this map if you want. Look at the distortions in the middle. The distortions are horrible. This one's better if you're at the poles. So which map you choose is the map that you choose to help you get where you want to go, but they're all the same map and they're all a globe.
I mean, so your proof of a globe is the map.
No, that's one proof. The second proof is that on Earth, parallel lines eventually meet, and on a flat.
Nobody's ever done this. So you have.
Well, people have gone quarter way around the world, so you can go a quarter of the way around the world, and you could hire a plane and do it. I'm not going to, because I don't need to prove anything. But if you
gonna spend money on that.
If you take the map that works and you plot straight lines on that map, any one of the maps, you plot straight lines because you know what the transformations are, you will end up in the same spot. So it's physically not possible that the Earth is flat. But we can go to sunsets if you want. That's a great one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Same thing. Look, we're all looking west and nobody sees the sun set in the right spot. Right now, the sun, let's say it's sunset for the three blue dots. That would give us the sun directly above the green dot. And look at that. Two of us don't see the sunset where it's supposed to set at all. I mean, not even close. Not even close. And you can put any map you want underneath that. We will never see the sunset in the west on the equinox, no matter what. There's nothing there's no tricking you can do. Like put whatever map you want under there. The sun can't be in three places at the same time.
That's because you're making the sun into a physical object that has mass.
Ah, yes, of course, yes.
The founding principles of the whole heliocentric model.
Yeah. So
it's physical.
Yeah. So go ahead. Tell me how it's not physical.
It's not physical because of one thing you just pointed out, how you can't triangulate it and it's exactly west of everyone. That's one thing that tells you that.
I can triangulate it so it's exactly west of everyone. Boom. It's exactly west of everyone. Oh, and look, it's exactly overhead of the person who it's supposed to be. No pseudoscience necessary, no heebie-jeebie. It's not real, it's only personal. I don't know, whatever you're gonna say. I love the going into the it's a hologram that we all see in our own way, blah blah blah, solipsism. You can't know anything except what you know personally. Again, totally useless, completely ridiculous. But go ahead, keep you give your theory.
The face of your model.
Well, because it flies in the face of reality.
Yeah, right.
Pardon?
There's, the pictures of the sunset where the line of the sun is coming directly to the observer, and the guy standing a mile away can take the same thing, and the line's coming directly to him. Why isn't the whole water just lit up evenly? Since it's, I don't know how many times bigger than the Earth, and your parallel lines is basically just like a huge floodlight. Why wouldn't all the water be lit up exactly the same?
Because there are clouds. Are you talking about the ones with the clouds and the?
No, I'm talking about the one like sunset, water, a line going to the camera,
Because the sunset and the line on the water, like the line of the well, that's because of how reflections work.
So why isn't the whole water reflecting that exactly the same?
Because it reflects it based on the angular size of what is shining. So the angular size of the sun is what creates that. And the reason why you see it that way and someone 5 miles down the beach also sees it that way is because of their position and where they're looking at the sun. So the reflections are based on the light that's coming towards you from an object that is shining. So the light is coming towards me. The reflection, what I can see is the physical object in front of me, and that reflects the light. I mean, you could do it with a flashlight on the table. Or on a reflective surface. It's the same thing.
No, it's completely different. The flashlight on the reflective surface, I'm sitting in the chair directly across from it. It's in front of me. The person to the right of me has to look to the left to see the same spot.
Not if it's far away.
Yeah.
No.
It doesn't just relatively move over, and he's looking at it straight on too.
Okay, I should clarify. Not a flashlight, but a light bulb, and you need to be. It needs to be far away. No, it's not the same thing.
You'll see the bright spot under the table underneath the light bulb. The guy to the right to me has to look to his left to see the bright light.
Well, he has to look at the light, and then he will see the bright light.
No, on the table, the reflection. Remember, we're talking about
no. You're talking about illumination, and illumination and reflection are two different things.
So I'm looking at the sunset. The brightest part of the water is directly in front of me.
That's a reflection.
A mile down, the brightest spot on the water is directly in front of him too.
Because that's a reflection, not illumination. You're confusing two concepts.
Light shining on the table. It's
if you put a light close to a table and there's a bright spot, that's an illumination bright spot, not a reflective bright spot.
Mirror. He's going to have to look to the left to see it.
It's not the same thing. You're confusing two concepts. Illumination and reflection are two different things. And your example is an example of illumination that you're trying to confuse with reflection.
It was your example. It was never my example.
My example is if you have a source of light that's far away, it's so the sunset, because that was what you started with. The sunset is illuminating the ocean and the beach and whatever at the same rate. It's illuminating everything there at the same amount, and you're seeing the bright thing that's coming towards you is the water reflecting, giving you another image of the sun. That's reflection. You're seeing the sun like it's acting like a mirror. You're seeing the sun through the mirror. Now, the point source is really far away, really far away. And what that means is if I'm X number of so if you want to do your example, first of all, you need a huge table, you need a light that's super far away, and you need to be standing right next to the person. That's the equivalent of your example. And you need not a flashlight, a directional source. You need an open point source. So you can't confuse the two concepts and then say that disproves the point. So it's two different ideas.
Number 3, the sun behind the clouds. Rays converge up to the sun. Guy several miles down, the convergence of the rays are directly in front of him again.
Exactly.
So how is that working with a physical? There's no reflection in there.
Because the rays are converging out
They're converging
360 degrees. The rays convert, the rays shine through the clouds straight down.
And then
And
guy 15 miles away,
from your perspective, they
going straight down through those, converging up to a point above those.
exactly. So
So you've got two
where you see the sun in the sky, the rays are coming towards you. Where he sees the sun in the sky, the rays are coming towards him because they're going everywhere. And what you see is what flat earthers love to use is perspective. What you're seeing is your version of that, which are parallel lines that converge. And when he moves over, they're parallel lines. No, it's converging to the same point.
How can that be? If I'm 15 miles away and the Earth is curved, we're looking off in two completely different directions into space. They're not even close to converging.
You're both looking at the direction of the sun.
It's two different directions.
I don't
Surface.
sorry.
Directions.
No, it's not. I'm not sure what you're saying. You're both looking at the sun through behind clouds.
Yeah,
right.
Different directions because the surface is curved. So if we're looking at the guy on the right, he's looking off. You know, if you take his gravity vector down to the center of the Earth, take the guy on the left, take his gravity vector down to the center of the Earth. There's an angle there. Those lines aren't parallel. They're looking in two different directions.
So are you talking about these three people here?
Yeah, so the top dot.
Yeah. So we're all looking in the same direction.
His direction is off to the side a little bit though. Like, so take this.
The rays, look.
Section.
Yeah.
Wait, move your mouse.
Oh, shoot, sorry. Up here, you mean?
So yeah, you see how he's looking off to the right if he's looking this way?
From his point of view,
yeah,
he's straight up and down looking directly west.
And he sees it converging over where?
If he's looking at the sunset right here.
The crepuscular rays through the clouds.
They're converging on his line. They're converging.
Just move your mouse over there. Where is it converging at?
From his point of view, looking.
Where is it converging from his point of view?
So.
Directly in front of him, right?
Exactly.
And the other guy is below him, directly in front of him. So you have two different points of conversion for the same physical object. It should be right where your mouse is right there, just right in the middle. They should both be looking at the same convergence point.
No, they're looking at something that is so big it's a flat plane here, but it's so far away that it's
either there's 2 points of convergence or there's not. I'm not sure where you're going with this.
There's one point of convergence, and there's one point of convergence, and it's where the sun physically is, and they're all three seeing that.
The point of convergence is.
The point of convergence is way off the side, a few 100,000 kilometers, into 3 million kilometers. Sorry.
Convergence directly in front of him on that blue line.
Yes, there's a point
directly in front of him.
Exactly.
So how are these parallel lines ever intersecting?
These parallel lines are looking at something that's super huge. And if you want it,
No, I asked you how they are intersecting. How can parallel lines intersect even in one place? So
what we're having a problem here with is perspective versus orthogonal, right?
And they intersect in one place.
The point of convergence is where the sun is.
Not possible, let alone two different places. So how are they converging?
I don't understand what you don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you're understanding. They each see, if you're looking at the sunset,
his point of convergence is on that blue line.
which is the sun.
The bottom guy,
Yeah.
looking on that blue line, he has a point of convergence there.
Yeah.
If all the rays are parallel, how can they converge?
They converge at the sun, which is millions of kilometers away.
How can they converge?
They
Tell me where they converge. Tell me how it's possible for parallel lines to intersect.
well, because they're looking at something.
Just say it's not
That's
possible.
No, it is. Well, first of all, they're
Do is you got to remove your parallel lines, and then the entire model falls apart.
no, you don't, because what you're not understanding is that distance is important. That size is important.
A parallel line can't intersect.
It
Complex.
all three of those lines, listen, all three of those lines intersect the sun. All three of those lines intersect the sun. They are all converging. They're not converging, but they are all looking at the exact same object, different parts of it, but a very, very small different part of it compared to the size of it. So they're not converging. They're not converging in the sense that if they're truly parallel, they're not touching and they're not meeting. That's fine. But they're all three of them. Listen.
Let's go.
Listen.
They're not truly parallel, are they?
They are truly parallel. Let's say they're truly
parallel. Intersect.
Because they don't intersect. They intersect the object that they're looking at.
They're not parallel. It's simple. Just say
No. You're not understanding. Listen to me. These three lines are all parallel. They are all looking, they all intersect the sun. The sun is huge. They all intersect the sun. They are all looking at the sun. They're looking at a very, very minutely different spot of the sun, but they are all looking at the sun at the same time because they don't have to intersect in order to see the sun because the sun is huge. So they are all, if you drew the sun on this side of the diagram, it would be a flat line and they would all be hitting it. They are all seeing the sun, their lines are parallel, and they're all seeing that as the convergence point, the sun.
All right, so how is the top guy seeing the bottom edge of the sun? Where's his line going to that?
The top guy is seeing the bottom edge of the sun. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, he can look very slightly down. So you have to understand that.
You know,
the angle that he has to look down. Sorry, go ahead.
If the sun were on the screen, he couldn't even see the top parallel ray coming in, right?
But the sun is super far away, so we can.
How can parallel lines intersect? You're still not answering that.
I told you that they don't.
Okay. So he sees sun rays converging to a point.
The sun, yes.
How can he see that if they're not intersecting somewhere?
Because all three of these people are looking at the same object. And they're parallel lines. They're parallel lines.
Like if they were, then yeah, they'd be looking, like I said, the bottom guy would be looking to his right a little bit and the top guy would be looking to his left a little bit.
No.
It doesn't happen.
No, first of all,
physical object.
They wouldn't be looking left and right because now you've gone into 2D orthogonal instead of even staying in 3D orthogonal. It wouldn't be left and right that they would be looking at. But anyway, regardless, the sun is huge. So if you draw a straight line from all three of those people, perfectly straight, perfectly parallel lines, they will all hit the sun. And now the sun is also super far away. So the angular resolution of how big the sun is very small for them. So you can see all of it. And now if you move say the sun's super far away and you want to look at the top of it, how much do you have to look up? What, like 10 arc seconds? Like straight at this point, when the sun is that far away, is relative. But you can be super precise and say they all are looking at the sun, for all of them, all the rays converge at the point they're looking at, which is the sun.
Okay, you keep saying that the sun is huge and the sun is far away. So how did they figure that out? right? Because my model says the sun's relatively close compared to yours and a lot smaller than yours. So how did they figure out the distance to the sun and the size of the sun?
I'll tell you what. You tell me on your model how they can all see the sun setting directly west in any configuration whatsoever, and then we can talk about that. But like, you're going into you want me to bend over backwards, and your model doesn't even do that. So I think you need to start first.
So I'll tell you how they did it. They assumed the Earth was a sphere and the rays were parallel, and then they calculated. They had to assume the sphere to begin with. You can't.
They didn't assume the sphere, like I said.
Well, okay. How did they get the distance then?
We've known that it's a sphere for a long time because we have a map of it. We have a map of it that is a sphere that allows us to get exact. Like, what I don't understand that you don't understand is if you have a map and the map says go to X and you get to X every time, exactly like all the ships and all the planes, you go from where you are, you go to X.
You have to go back to that when you realize.
Listen.
You never figured out the distance.
Listen. If that works every time,
and that's why you don't want to talk about it.
That works every time. And that map that we use is based on a globe.
It's a map.
Oh, I got lots more, but I don't need more.
You can't even tell me how they figured out the distance to the sun.
I know how they figured out the distance to the sun. I know how they
figured a map all day long, but you can't tell me how they figured out the distance to the sun. What's going on?
I know how they figured out the distance to the sun, but it's fine because what
you don't want to talk about it.
I don't because you're. I mean, we can talk about it. It's totally fine. I have no problem with that.
They figured it out.
Well, you just told me how they figured it out.
Yeah, they assume
No, they didn't assume it. They knew that. They know that. They understand it. And guess what? Every single, even if we'll grant you that they guessed, every single measurement and experiment in the literal hundreds of years that followed that all confirm it, are all consistent, and all agree with each other. So even if they guessed at the beginning, everything works and everything works really well.
It was not known.
There you go. No, that's completely false. Completely
okay, well, tell me how they figured out the distance then.
They figured out the distance on our planet. They figured it out by sailing around our planet.
To the sun that you don't want to talk about for some reason.
It's not that I don't want to talk about it. Go ahead. You told me how they figured it out. I don't know what you want.
They made assumptions. They made a calculation, and the assumptions and calculations stood from whatever BC until NASA. NASA proved it.
No, not at all. Okay. Not even close. Okay.
Well, tell me how it's proven then.
It's proven by the fact that every single discovery and scientific advancement based on that idea all works together and it describes our world perfectly. Like, I don't understand what you don't understand about how science works. Science is built on a foundation, and the foundation, if it doesn't work, eventually it crumbles on top. Nothing has crumbled. It's just gotten more accurate and more precise. So when they made, first of all, they had mapped their world. They knew how it worked. They knew how to navigate on it.
The map, for God's sakes. And but talk about how they figured out how far the sun is, please.
But I'm telling you that they knew that the Earth was round, and then.
And I'm asking you how they got the distance to the sun, and you won't tell me.
You just told me. They assumed parallel rays.
You're going with it was all an assumption until NASA came along.
No, they assumed parallel rays, and they took different measurements. I mean, you know the story. Like, I don't need to tell you the story. But what I'm saying is, you're saying that's a guess, and I'm saying that's science. And they knew that the Earth was round. They made a hypothesis that the sun was large and far away. They confirmed that hypothesis by doing testing, and that hypothesis has been confirmed over and 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 over again. Science works by saying, you know what I think? I think that the X is true. Let's try and test it. And then you try and test X, and it works or it doesn't work. And eventually, You find something that you find, okay, maybe it wasn't X. Now, oh, look, now it's Y. Now Y is right. We keep going and we keep going with Y until someone else says, maybe it's not Y, maybe it's Z. And then we keep, it's super simple. It's a really easy concept. So they already had a worldview that they understood and worked well, which was that it was a globe. And they looked at the sun and said, okay, well, there's a couple options. For example, let's say the Earth is flat. Oh, wait a minute, nothing works. Literally nothing works. Okay, we'll throw that in the garbage because it's a dumb idea. So now let's see, what if it's spinning around us? And we thought it was for a while until someone came along and said, you know what? This is super complicated and makes no sense. What if it's this? And guess what? It got better and it got better and it got better. That's how it works. There's no secret. There's no conspiracy. People just try and find a better way of seeing the way the world works. So it doesn't even matter if they guessed because it's right. And it's been proven right a million times. So literally all the time, literally the entirety of physics is based on that it works.
The sun is really far away, so far away that the rays are parallel, whatever. What was the test? That's our hypothesis. What is the test?
The test is that they then built a model of how far it was away and then got better at measuring, better at testing, and they
got better at testing what? What did they test? What is the test for the distance to the sun?
The test for the distance to the sun is the motion of all the objects in the sky and how they work together. And then
that's not a test because you can't control any of that. You have to have an independent variable that you can.
Oh man, this is my favorite part about flat earthers, when you guys like think that you know the scientific method by saying the independent variable. It's super funny.
Test, and you told me
super funny.
How was that a test?
Because every time, the way that science works is every time you try another experiment based on the what you believe to be true.
Tell me the experiment.
It's every experiment. It's every experiment in physics and astrophysics. Literally every experiment in physics and astrophysics since that point has confirmed that that's true, because everything works, and that is part of the model that works. That's how science works. All of the tests are. Everything that's ever been tested that has anything to do with the motion of the planets, the sizes and distances of them, how they are, everything works. It always has. It's continually worked, and it's continually gotten better. And each time we do something, so let's say, for example, we notice weird discrepancy in the motion of Uranus, and we're like,
just for God's sakes, just tell me the experiment.
Maybe there's Neptune. Maybe there's another planet out there.
I'll tell you what I think it is.
There is.
I think it was proven when NASA started sending stuff there.
Wait, that's not
an actual thing you can manipulate.
You don't understand.
If I build up my whole model that says the distance to the sun is 93 million miles, and I make a craft, I send it out 93 million miles, and in the direction my model says it's supposed to be there, and lo and behold, I get there. There you go. There's my test. I proved it. That didn't happen until, I don't know, 70s or 80s. When did they send a probe to the sun? I don't even know.
The real problem you're having is that in your mind, proof is I saw that. I saw that is not. I went to that thing and
that was your proof, bud.
That's what you're saying.
Outside and looked at the stars or the planets or whatever, and that was the proof.
No. You have to. What I'm saying is, you're saying that I can't. The only way I can verify my model is if I go and look at the thing to make sure. Like, what does being closer to the sun change to make it proof?
What in the fuck does that even mean?
Because
what is your test?
My test is.
I told you how they did it.
My test is
that.
Okay, but listen.
Disagree with me and tell me no. This is actually what they did.
This is why it's super funny, because this is why it's super funny, because sending a probe to the sun, you've already proved that it works. You didn't have to even.
Because if my probe never gets there, that proves that it doesn't work. That the distance is not right. That my model's wrong. That's how I know. Going out and looking at it, how is that ever going to tell me that something's wrong?
Because everything
It
works.
is what it is. You're looking at shit.
Because everything works.
What's everything?
All of the motions of the stuff,
a model or not.
all of the emotions of the things that we see in the sky all work, and we can predict where they're going to be and what's going to happen.
You can do that on more than the heliocentric model too. You can do it with 3 of them that I know of. So why do we prefer one over the other? Where's the proof?
I don't know which models you're talking about, but obviously the reason why they are not the accepted model of the universe is because they don't work for certain things. I don't know what they are because I don't know what models you're talking about.
No.
Pardon?
What do you mean they don't work for certain things?
I don't know what models you're talking about.
Exactly.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what models you're talking about, and I haven't studied them, so I can't tell you what it is. But they're the reason why they wouldn't be the accepted model of the universe is because they probably don't work for something. I can't say more than that because I don't know what you're referring. But that being said, you can also have multiple models of something and they can all work, and it doesn't mean one is wrong.
One model has the Earth at the center with everything revolving around.
That's wrong.
All has the sun at the center with everything revolve around, and it doesn't matter.
So that matters, and the one with the Earth at the center is wrong.
That's how they predict the eclipses.
Exactly.
That's one of the models that you don't know about that is wrong for some reason.
It's wrong for, yeah. So you're saying that because it predicts eclipses, then it can't be wrong for anything else, which is incorrect. You can have a model that predicts something super. I mean, one of your guys' favorite things to talk about is gravity and how Newton was crappy. And I'd say it's the exact same thing. Newton had a great model for gravity that didn't work in certain parts, certain things, but still works totally fine for lots of things. And Einstein came along with a different model of gravity that worked as well as Newton for those things, but was way harder to do the calculations and worked also well for other things that Newton did wrong. They're both models that are different, and they both work for what they're designed to work for. So if you can predict the eclipses on a model where the Earth is at the center and it's easier for you to do that, no problem. It's a model that helps you predict eclipses, but it's not a model of how the universe actually works, at how the solar system works. So it will fail at everything else or a bunch of other things that it tries to do and get everything completely wrong, which is totally fine, or not have things that it can explain. For example, why planets would go backwards. There's no explanation for that in that model, other than God did it. But there's the model where the sun is at the center. There's very good explanations as to why and how, and it works perfectly, and it describes exactly what happens. So that's a better model.
Perfect. How did we figure out the distance?
Pardon?
How did they figure out the distance?
To what?
The sun in the center of the model that works. How did they figure that out?
You've already said this. We've already talked about it.
So it was assumed. They went through human history, assumed, calculated. NASA came along and proved it, and that's what we're going with. We can move on, right?
No, but okay, I mean,
just tell me how it was proven. Why is this so hard for you?
It's not hard for me. It's hard for you to understand how science works.
All you got to do is just tell me how they did it. You just keep saying everybody knew. We all use this. It's like, well,
no, they knew.
Somebody's got to prove something.
The proof is that it works. I don't know what else to tell you. That's literally how science works. The proof is that everything that has been built on top of that works.
Like what?
The entire model of the solar system in physics. It fits within that model.
On to the next thing. You're never going to say what the experiment was. Let's just move on to the next thing.
Well, go ahead. Do you have an experiment? Go ahead. You tell me what it is then.
No, I don't have an experiment because that model doesn't work. It's not real. Unless you accept that NASA sent shit to the moon or wherever.
No, not at all.
If you disagree with that proof, then just tell me what it is. We all know you're not going to. You just got done talking about gravity, which has nothing to do with this. All you got to do is just...
Gravity has a ton to do with it.
Did it this way.
Gravity has a ton to do with it.
That's all you got to do. Okay. You can't do it because it doesn't exist.
Exactly, and the only thing I can tell you is that what you don't understand about science is that one experiment doesn't prove anything. One experiment
Experiment that proved the
is
distance.
evidence.
Prove the distance.
One experiment is, you can triangulate the distance to the sun in many ways, and
An example.
sure, you can triangulate it with, anyway, you can triangulate it with I'm missing, lost the word, uh, parallax, but anyway.
Anyway, what? Just keep going. Give me an example. Parallax. What did they do? How did they triangulate it? Go ahead.
Listen,
I'm here. They never did. They made mistakes.
of course, that science totally makes mistakes. That's totally fine. No, that's
never triangulated the distance to the sun. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It was never proven until NASA came along. If you have a counterexample, then just say what it is. You said parallax. Let's just talk about the parallax. What did they do?
Well, I don't have a specific example, so but I can look it up. But we'll move on.
I've already looked it up. I already know all this shit.
Sure. Then why are you being so strange about it?
I'm just showing everybody in the audience that you have no clue what you're talking about.
I have, yeah.
The distance of the sun is taken on faith.
Yeah.
Read it in a book. The guy before you read it in a book. It was told to him over and over again. Nobody ever triangulated the distance. It was proven with NASA. If you believe NASA, then okay. Go ahead. I don't believe it, so I have nothing. I have nothing to prove the heliocentric model with. Absolutely nothing.
So I'm not sure you get that, but the point I'm trying to make is that we got an approximate distance to the sun through a hypothesis. We refined that over time. No. We built a model with that.
They used the parallax method, like you said. They just made mistakes in their reasoning.
No, I don't think so. But I don't know, because I don't know.
I don't know anything about
the method exactly, so I don't know.
I don't even know what they are. So let's just move on to the next thing.
But what I'm telling you is, even if they made mistakes, even if they didn't get it right at first, or they were off by a bunch, the intervening time that has been used, the size and the distance of the sun has been used as the basis of the model, of part of the basis of the model that we created of the solar system that works perfectly. So,
and it was confirmed by NASA.
And that is confirmed, exactly. But so the model worked, so it was right.
If you don't believe the things that NASA's done, then you have no confirmation of the model. That's what I'm saying to you. There is no other proof of the heliocentric model outside of NASA. None. I mean, you got other governments that say they sent probes there and whatever. That's it. There's no Harvard University sent a probe up to the moon and whatever. Nobody's ever verified any of these distances. Nobody's triangulated them either. So there's no proof. Let's move on.
The proof is that it works, that everything works, that we know where everything is. That we know where everything is, that we can find planets that don't exist based on that model, and then we look there and they're there. That's the proof. That's how it works.
What the fuck does that have to do with the distance?
Because we know where so for example, we found Neptune. We know where Neptune is supposed to be because we have a model that functions. And when we look where we think that it's supposed to be, we see it. So the model that we built, which includes all of those distances and sizes and measurements, works. That's how you prove. That's how knowledge goes forward. And I don't understand what you don't understand about that. So you can.
You don't know how they proved any of it.
You can.
I don't understand it because you've never researched this.
What
you know is the standard talking points. never read the flat Earth books. You've never watched the videos. You've never.
Do you want to know why I haven't read flat Earth books? Because you can't even get a sunset right. It's so lame. There's literally, so what I love about these discussions, of course, is that you have a great time trying to find gaps in my knowledge because I haven't searched the intimate details of all this stuff. I know a lot about a lot of things, but not about everything. Yet on your side, you can't even get the sun in the right place at the right time, which is comic to me that you would be arguing this point when you have no map, no model, and nothing that functions correctly. And that's why this is so funny to me. So fine, if you really feel better thinking that you got me because I didn't research how they exactly found where the sun was in this model and the entire history of that, that's great. And I'll give you that. That's fine. I have no problem with that. Your model doesn't function whatsoever on any level. And I mean, there's literally nothing that works. So
there's a lot of things that work.
There's zero that works
standard
in your model.
Go out to the water. The ship doesn't disappear over curvature. That works just fine.
Yes, it does.
Everything you've ever seen is flat. You get up in the airplane, you know.
Oh, look at that. Let's look at some things behind the curvature. There we go. Right. Oh my God. Directly behind the curvature. And I mean, that's not the proof of the globe, but that's just proof that you're talking out your ass, because that's literally right there, things being hidden behind the curvature.
Is that horizon right there?
I don't know, but it's definitely hidden behind the curvature.
So if something is blocked on the bottom, that means it's curving away from you. Is that the argument?
There is something between me and the base of those windmills that is blocking me seeing it, and it's that water. So either the water sort of ends and there's a several 100-foot drop and they're on a land underneath it somehow, or if not, and I've actually seen ships disappear myself because I used to live on the ocean. I don't know what to tell you. That is just that photograph completely destroys what you said. But I mean, I'm not trying to use that to prove the Earth. I'm trying to use that to say that you're talking out your ass about that. So you're either lying or you haven't looked at a photo like that. I don't know why I don't understand. But even what you're trying to say proves your point, disproves your point.
Listen, is there another way to achieve this without a curved water right there blocking the bottom? Is there another way?
Like I said, there could be a wall, and those could be on several tens or hundreds of feet below on something that's lower. So
we don't need to do any of that. They're just in the water. We know they're in the water.
Okay. Then
is there another way to achieve this effect without a curved Earth? Is it possible?
Is it possible to hide the bottoms like that?
Yes.
I mean, yes.
So how is that proof of a curved Earth?
I'm not saying it's a proof of curved Earth. I'm saying it's not a flat Earth.
Effect, and then you assume the cause.
No, I'm saying.
What I'm trying to tell you is that's all that anybody's ever done. They've never assumed it. People that ever proved it are people that sent things into orbit around a globe or sent these distances. That's it. There is no other proof.
So you mean the 61 active space agencies, the 32 that have sent astronauts, the 40 or so private companies that build launch vehicles, the one that's like all of those people, literally many dozens of countries, many hundreds of thousands of people working there, and like that's not enough proof for you. But this photo and you saying, oh, well, maybe it's refraction, that's cool. That's what you're trying to say, right? Like that's your point.
I mean, at the top levels, yeah, they all know that they're all faking it, of course.
And how do you know that? What's your proof of that? What's your proof of that?
Not fake videos on the internet. I could show you hours and hours of them if you want.
What is your qualification to tell me that? No, that's fine. Let's go down this path. I like this path. What is your qualification to tell me those videos are fake? How are you qualified to tell me that? What is your expertise to let me know, to tell me that those are fake?
You just look at them.
Yeah, that's not
You
expertise.
listen to what they're saying.
Yeah, that's not
You just
expertise.
decide for yourself.
Yeah, that's not expertise. There's what I'm telling you is
How do you have to be an expert?
there's literally no reason for me to take your word about that. And I've watched those videos and they don't look fake to me.
I'm telling
But
you,
it's not my expertise either. But what I'm telling you is there's absolutely no reason why I would take your word, because you have no idea what you're talking about. You see a video glitch and you're like, that's fake. I've seen all those videos. They're all the same. They're all someone's like saying, look, that's compression artifacts. In fact, I actually work in post-production, CGI, green screening. That's sort of the job that I do. So I'm actually more qualified than you are to tell you. And even I'm not going to tell you whether they're fake or not, because I understand how those things work. So you want me to disavow tens to hundreds of thousands of qualified experts telling me what they think, and listen to you, who has admittedly no idea what you're talking about, and it just feels fake. Like, that's your evidence. So you're grilling me on my evidence, but your evidence is it feels fake to me when I watch a video that I saw on YouTube. So you have to like step back out of yourself for 1 second and realize how absolutely ridiculous that sounds. Absolutely ridiculous. Because let's go solipsistic. There's no way for any of us to know anything other than we have thoughts. This could all be a simulation. I don't even know if you exist. But is that meaningful? So what is meaningful? Trying to find truth in it, and you're doing your own thing. It's cool, man. Like, I don't even really care. But it's just funny that your perspective is saying, look, I A, don't know what I'm talking about, B, just read stuff on the internet, and C, somehow have a deeper understanding of the truth of the way we work than literally millions of people around the world who do this for a living, who studied it, who are experts in it. Like, I'm sorry, dude, but your opinion is worthless. But my opinion on this stuff is worthless too. That's totally fine. We're just doing this for fun. But your opinion is completely worthless. So there's no way that listening to you makes any sense, or any flat earther makes any sense.
That's because you're coming in from the wrong angle. Like, nobody comes into flat earth fresh out of believing everything. They come in from the conspiracy side. A lot of them, it's like the moon landings are fake. So they come in and look at this and it'll explain everything. As you just said, the photo on the left can be explained without a globe. What requires the globe?
Every single
Prove it to me.
Every
If you
single
don't want to, then fine. We'll just go our separate ways. If you don't prove it, okay, I can't prove it either.
Every single scientific advancement over the literally thousands of years proves that the globe is right, because it's used in it and it works. There's no other way to prove things. There's no
example that proves the globe. Just one thing. You have this whole 1,000 years of advancement, whatever. You can't give me one example.
Parallel lines intersect on a globe, and they do in real life. There you go.
What does that have to do with scientific advancement?
You just asked for a proof.
Fucking math.
Exactly. And math that works and is verifiable and is part of reality.
But when the math tells you that a curve should be in the way and it's not fucking there, then what?
So like this one, this is one of my favorites too. I love this one. So like this one, that one you're talking about?
Yeah, it's not there.
Yes, it is.
It's there, but you can't see it?
No, it's on the right. You can see it.
It's not where it's supposed to be. It means the horizon is changing.
No, it means what we see of the horizon is changing.
Not the tangent point of a sphere.
Yeah, yes, it is. I mean,
how?
A horizon.
Can you predict where it is? What's your sphere? What's the radius of it?
The radius of the Earth.
Which on picture on the left is like way up front there. So now we're looking at shit that's on the other side.
Exactly, because
tangent point that you can't see. You have a curve that you can't see. It's not where it's supposed to be.
the physical curve is where it's supposed to be, but there are lots of things that reflect things and allow you to see further. Like so for example, if I put a mirror at the corner of a wall and I can look on the other side, are you telling me that then the corner doesn't exist? Is that what you're trying to say?
Let's just stick with these two pictures here.
No, but it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing.
Why is the thing on the left happening?
Because of reflection or refraction, but refraction is reflection.
So
yes.
Refraction is based on the radius value.
Refraction is based on a lot of things. The density, the pressure, the radius. There's a bunch of things.
That's the paradox. You're using the radius to extend your vision, but the radius is what you can't see.
No.
We're back to where we were, where we have to assume the sphere first, and then we seek out things that confirm our assumption. That's not science.
So in these two, making a hypothesis and then finding evidence for that hypothesis is literally science. So that's an incorrect statement. But B,
test.
B,
what's the test?
The image on the left is possible on a globe because of refraction. The image on the right.
No. You have to use R to get the image on the left. So what's the test that gave me the R that I could then use to refract the light and create the image on the left?
So
how did they get the radius value? I'm going to say is they assumed it.
Because we know what the radius of the Earth is.
NASA came along and started orbiting.
No, because we know what the radius of the Earth is. Because we can navigate on the Earth. Because we can navigate on the Earth. We know what the Earth radius is. If you don't know the size and the shape.
Back to this, just
because
how they figured it out.
Because
they don't just make random sized globes and here, take this with you.
Exactly. You know how they figured it out?
Tell me if it works.
You know how they figured it out?
Yeah,
by slowly going further and further and mapping everything and figuring out. How else do you think you figure out the size and the shape of something? You go explore it. You go see. You walk into a new building. How do you know where it is? What do? You walk around the building and you find things.
The North Star.
So navigating around the world. Navigating around the world and mapping the entire world and finding where everything is, it's a globe. That's how we know.
It's not what they did though.
That's literally
took a sextant out.
Literally what we did.
3 stars and triangulated their position.
And the funny part about it is, the really funny part about it is, you go back like 500 BC, 1000 BC, like they thought like you know, they only saw a small thing. They're like, whatever's in front of my nose is fine. And all they did was then just start going a little bit further away and drawing maps and realizing that, oh, look, the further we go, the longer the distance is. Now we've got to start. And then they wandered around the world and realized it's a planet. Realized it's a globe. I mean, it's literally that simple. That's why I started with maps, because they started where you are. They started where you are, which is I can't see anything further than my nose. And then they just wandered around. And when they wandered around and they needed to make a map, they needed to get back, they used a globe. And guess what? It works. So there you go. Like, there's no more proof than I can go to point A across the world. I can come back to point to where I was. I used the globe to do it. It's a globe. I mean, how much more? I don't understand how much more proof you need. We know we've literally walked over the entire planet or flown or.
It's going back to what I said before. Is there another way to do that?
To go around the globe?
No,
to go around, to map the planet?
Where you are, travel straight west and go all the way around, come back to where you started. Is there another way to do that without a globe?
No, to start where you are and go straight and come back to the same spot. I mean, you can do it with a cylinder, but you can't do it in every direction.
If you have the Mercator map and you go straight left or west, and it comes back around onto the other side on the east, like the Pac-Man model that everyone likes to make fun of.
Yes.
But what if that's actually it? Like it's just hyperdimensional and you just wrap around like that and you'd have no idea it even happened. That's another way that it can happen.
So your proposal is that we're on a 4-dimensional world.
Or
That's
more,
interesting.
Or more.
That's fantastic.
How can you disprove it? You can't. There's no way to.
I don't know how I would, but I know that somebody could.
You know,
for sure.
Somebody could.
Well, absolutely.
The people that are going to disprove it are the same ones that sent the probes orbiting the globe.
The people that are going to disprove it are the same ones that are proposing string theory. There's a bunch of people who are looking for really cool ways to look at the world.
By the way, it's a multi-dimensional plane that wraps around on the sides.
That would be
governments around the world have all been lying to us the whole time. Okay.
No. Again, you're putting emotionality into this. If a scientist came in and said, we're in a 4-dimensional reality and it's warped and we come around and we Pac-Man appear on the other side of the world, no one's been lying to anyone because no one knew that. It's just advancing science.
They have been lying because they say they use gravity to orbit around a fucking ball. That's a lie.
That's what
I'm trying to tell you.
And if
ever come out.
And if
this lie of this sphere that we're on.
But what you don't look what you don't understand.
All of science, all this scientific shit that you praise.
It's super fun. It's super funny. If a scientist came out and said, I have undeniable proof that it's a flat thing but warped in 4 dimensions and you can go around, then
looking at it,
all of the satellite companies would say, damn, well, how is it that my satellite went around? And then they would figure out how, and that's how we would advance. It's like, it's just because you don't know exactly how something works doesn't mean it doesn't work. It's like if you stumble into the right answer, it's still the right answer, even if you did it wrong. If someone came up and said, we're in a multi-dimensional universe where a flat plane is flat yet curved and you can spin around it, but it's still flat at the same time, and here's the proof. Like, here's literal hypothesis with experimentation that verifies that, and then you go out, someone else goes out and tests that and verifies it on their own, and the third person, first of all, it would start with a theoretical physicist who would describe that. Someone else would think of an experiment to try and test it. A bunch of people would test it a bunch of ways, and if it turned out to be true, then it would be true. No one's lying about it. It would just change. It's exactly like what Einstein did to physics from Newton. It's the same thing. Newton wasn't lying. Nobody was lying about gravity.
Too late now, because we've already lied about the moon landings and everything else. It's too late.
No, but again, I am not taking your word for the fact that we lied about the moon landings, because you have no idea what you're talking about.
It doesn't matter. I'm just asking you if it's possible.
Is it possible that a spaghetti monster with lasers in his eyes comes and shoots me every second weekend? Sure. Why not? Like, I don't know. Everything's possible. So is it possible isn't a question. Like, who knows? That's a non-verifiable hypothesis. Is it
possible for the picture on the left to be on a globe?
Yes.
Why?
Because of refraction or reflection, basically. Because exactly like, is it possible to see around a corner if you put a mirror there?
Who verified that? Where's the...
We understand the physics of light very well.
Huh?
We understand the physics of light and how it refracts very well.
Because if you use the refraction calculators that they have, it still won't give you this. Not even close.
Because you're talking about a specific example with no data. That you're taking the word of the person, because a refraction calculator,
the coordinates of these two platforms.
Yeah, exactly. And you
he zooms out of his camera and he shows you where he is.
Yeah.
He shows you the coordinates on his phone.
Exactly.
We know the distances.
And what numbers do you put into the refraction calculator?
I mean, if you just use the standard refraction, it's not even close.
Exactly. And why is that true?
You can play around with the numbers.
Why is that?
Get this.
You absolutely can, because it happened. But anyway.
No, that's you assuming the globe again. And then
I'm not assuming the globe. I know that the globe is true. I mean, it's...
No, you say it can happen because we have this picture. You're saying light can do this because Well,
Absolutely.
on a globe because we have a map of the globe.
Light can so again, same thing. I always love this part where you're like, if you don't understand the intimate details of an experiment that happened 100 years ago, then you don't know what you're talking about. And yet in this picture, you're taking a random picture from a random dude, or not even a picture, it's a still frame from a video. You don't know any of the conditions. You don't know even where the sun is, what's going on, and you're saying it can't happen because I went on the internet and plugged some numbers into a calculator that someone else built, and it didn't add up. I mean, it's the most unscientific, giant jumble of crap I've ever heard. I mean,
just with our core assumptions of the heliocentric model of our radius value, our sphere, our light's traveling in straight lines, this can't happen. So then you take another step. Okay, let's add in our standard refraction. Still can't happen. Then you go to the next step. All right, I'll play around with the numbers, see if I can get it to happen. It's not going to happen. So where's the proof that this can happen on a globe? It doesn't exist. There is no proof that you can get this on a globe. All that anybody's ever going to do is all that they've ever done is assume it can happen. Assume this.
This is not an experiment. This is not an experiment. This is a picture that somebody took.
It is an experiment.
No, it's not. There's no data. There's no data from this.
He had the coordinates. So you've got distances to these two. You've got his height off the ground.
And that's all you have. And that is a tiny.
Then you have to change
it's a
one of our
tiny percentage of the data needed.
No, it's not. That's all you need.
No, it's not. Absolutely no, it's not. You need to know all of the atmospheric conditions all the way through. You need to know you need to know where the sun is, the position, how it's shining. You need to know a bunch of things, and then you need to reproduce it, and then you need to reproduce it again, and then you need to try something. This isn't science. It's you looking at a video from a dude and then saying this is impossible. It's super funny because you guys love to say that you're trying to find this thing, you're trying to find a model. You have no model. That doesn't work at all. I mean, we didn't even talk about the positions of the stars because that's super hilarious. It's, I think, my funniest part.
Doesn't work either.
The super and yet
models that don't.
And yet you take this picture and you're like,
you just have more people that agree with you, so you think that you're right for some reason.
You take this picture and you say, I don't have any context, and some dude took it, but for sure it proves that the globe doesn't exist. It's super funny.
It's a video.
Super funny.
He shows everything. There's context.
So
what are you even talking about?
What I'm saying is that's one still image from one video from one dude, and then right beside it,
that's multiple still images that actually has multiple days on it.
Right beside it is the picture that obviously doesn't have atmospheric distortion in it, and it looks exactly like it should. So what I'm saying is this image can happen on a globe.
Okay, so let's talk about the right one now. Why does it look like it should?
Because there's a curvature and it's
the bottom is chopped off. You have no numbers to support anything. You don't know how much of either of these are supposed to be missing.
Exactly. But the one on the right, I would not use as proof. I wouldn't.
Things that confirm my belief.
No.
That's it.
What I'm telling you is.
I don't know how. It doesn't get any simpler than that.
I know, but what I'm telling you is, this is the difference. Listen. This is the difference. I'm not telling you that the one on the right is proof of the globe. It's just a picture. It's also consistent with what a globe should be. But
let's just end this. Just tell me what your proof of the globe is.
I've already told you what the proof of the globe is a million times, over and over again.
Yeah, it's just all these things are all based on the globe, and they all work. And yeah,
that's like wait. You got it though. You got it. You got it. That's exactly what knowledge is. All of these things are based on the globe, and they all work. Yada yada. That's literally knowledge. You did it. You had a breakthrough.
Yeah, but
you understand
things are
how we understand things, which is fantastic.
What am I going to go out and grab onto that's proving the globe? What is it? The entirety of science.
The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The entirety of science. The
That's not a thing that I can grab onto.
I know. And especially if
There's
you didn't
nothing.
go to school
That's what I'm
for it.
telling you. There's nothing.
If you didn't go to school
only
for it and you
NASA,
didn't
that's
study.
it.
So what I find funny about the whole thing is that neither of us are qualified whatsoever to talk about this. And that's what I find utmostly, because I'm here because it's funny. Like, I'm not here to try and prove anything because I don't have anything to prove.
You can't prove anything.
Because the
You
entirety
can't tell
of
me how they got the distance to the sun.
the
You can't tell me
entirety
what the proof is for a globe. All you can just say is, well, everybody knows.
the
and it's all going
entirety
this
of
way.
the
It's like,
everything
really?
works
That's
because everything
terrible.
works.
That's
because
absolutely, yeah.
everything works. It does.
Except for Google Maps.
Google Maps works
Towers
perfectly.
that are out there, and they know the distances of the roads, and they just add them together and send it to your phone.
That's not how Google Maps works. But I mean,
It works.
what I'm saying is
That is proof of the flat Earth right there.
it's the proof that
That's
the
your
projection. It's the proof that the projection that they use of the globe works. Yes. So it's the proof that the globe it's
You don't even need a projection. All you need are coordinates. You just use the towers. You know where the person's phone is. You just add the distances. Requires no globe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't follow you. Like, again, you want me to discuss the inner workings of how Google Map works when I don't know the programming? Like, it's not an argument. What I'm telling you is the map projection that they use
All you have
works.
This was a map.
The map projection that they use works,
You don't know.
and that's the projection of a globe.
I mean, you started out with, if you have 3 people 5,000 miles apart and they walk straight left, like,
Exactly, which is
terrible.
also a true statement.
That's never happened. So that's what I'm saying. What can you give me that actually happened, or that we could actually go do that's going to prove the globe?
But why do you think, and this is my question, why do you think,
Answer the question, you can't do it.
why do you think,
Why is this so hard for you?
who owes you that? I don't understand why you think that science has to be able to be done by some dude in a camera. Like, that's what I don't understand. I've never understood about flat earthers is that there's this sort of like assumption that you should be able to, with no money, go out and look at something and it prove, and what brilliant people over hundreds of years took a lot of time and did a lot of experiments to do, and spent a lot of time and energy. Why do you assume that should be easy? Why do you assume that you should be able to go out and have one tiny thing that, because let's be honest, you're going to reject everything because you reject everything, right? Like you will reject anything that doesn't.
Waiting for the one example that I just can't get.
Well, what I'm telling you
What
is,
you're describing is like the first stage that everyone goes through.
what I'm telling you is,
And they want to know why all these people they can't prove anything. And then
no. I'm not angry. I'm just,
like, you know what?
I'm not angry. I'm not angry. I'm
Just
super fascinated by it,
stop
actually, to
talking,
be
I'll
honest.
tell you why flat earthers are the way they are. If you really want to know. If you don't want to know, just tell me you don't want to
No,
know.
go ahead.
Go on with your projection.
No, go ahead.
The reason why, so you start out and you're angry, like you said, that's the first stage. And then you get through that and you're like, well, nobody's ever going to prove this, so I'll just move on with my life. And then you get all these people that attack you on the internet just for talking about it. Nobody owes me anything. I don't care if you don't owe me. Just tell me you don't know. That's fine. Don't pretend like everybody knows, because nobody knows. That's it.
I don't know what you mean by nobody knows.
Nobody has an example they can give me to prove that it's a globe. Nobody's got one.
Because the example that you're waiting for
Doesn't exist. Just go ahead.
doesn't exist, because you want an example.
It's with NASA.
No, you want an example where you can go and like stand on a spot and look at something and then that proves it to you, right? Like, that's like, is there any other proof that works for you?
I mean, independent people orbiting around the globe, that help.
There are
Certainly.
there are 35 countries that sent people up to orbit the globe.
There's no like
There are,
university orbits around. There's nothing like that.
so just wait 50 years.
That's a part of.
So you'll be fine in 50 years.
Replication by peers.
So yeah,
There are no peers. The peers are just governments. There's no scientists replicating each other's work, orbiting
The,
even the
the,
smallest thing around.
the scientists that go up are scientists. I'm not sure what you mean.
I'm talking about the scientists at any university that I could actually go to. They have like some sort of rocket program and they just orbit, just something simple.
So
Orbiting around a globe.
Well, first of all, orbiting around the globe is super hard and complex, right? Like it's the reason why.
I don't even believe in it. That's only, what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, so there you go. So that wouldn't be proof for you, would it?
Is because it can't happen.
Let's say in 30 years when space travel is, well, it's not going to be cheap, but
that is just that is a terrible road to go down. I mean, you can watch videos.
I don't know how old you are, but
watch videos from the 1970s where they said we'd be living,
of course,
space stations out in space with
a
billion people.
Because they were super excited about it.
On the moon.
Yeah.
This will all happen in 30 years. It's never going to happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, depending on how old you are, it probably won't happen for you, which is too bad. But what I'm trying to tell you is, I don't believe that even that would convince you. I don't even think that would convince you. I honestly don't believe it. And this is for me the fascination I have with flat earthers, because the entirety of the way we see the world and how it functions, and the millions of people that use the globe model and the heliocentric model daily to do their jobs and to push science, and the theoretical physicists and the astrophysicists, all of these people, just listen.
Don't care.
Exactly.
Give me an example.
No, but what I'm telling you is,
you need to keep repeating that everybody knows, and we've made all these advancements over the years. I get all that. I've heard the line.
I know, but what I'm telling you is,
and it's nothing.
If the fact that it works, and that everything is based on it, because everything we do is based on it, that you have the fact that we're having this argument over the technology that we're using.
Here we go.
Is everything works?
The internet's on satellites. Yeah.
No, the internet isn't on satellites. The internet's mostly on cables.
Wires underground. You can.
Yeah.
Putting them in on my way to work every day. It has nothing to do with a satellite.
The internet, not really. I mean, you can get satellite internet. It's pretty slow though. But what I'm saying is, the technology, the science and the thinking and the basic science behind all the technology we use is all intimately connected with our understanding of physics and our understanding of matter and how it works, and electricity, and all of these fundamental forces. Gravity, electromagnetism, strong, weak forces. All of this understanding works.
Lumping everything in.
But dude,
to have experiments.
Dude, that's literally lumping everything in is exactly the point. It all works together.
Proven.
And if
experiments and hypotheses and all those things
doesn't work,
physics that's not proven.
Exactly. There's theoretical physics. There's lots of theoretical physics
that I can go out and test.
There's tons of theoretical physics, but
NASA has done it. That's all I'm saying. If you've got some other proof.
Anyway, we're never going to agree but what my fascination is that it doesn't matter for you, or my impression is it doesn't matter for you how much is piled on that. You're never going to believe it. Right? Like, let's be honest. There could be a university program that sends students up to orbit and come back and do their experiments. You still wouldn't believe it. Those would be shills and they would be fake people, right?
This is you projecting.
No, I'm just, because I've never seen any evidence that you want to actually know how things work.
That's because you don't have any.
No, I don't. You don't care about how things work. You don't want to.
That's why I spend time doing this. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here. I would just be out at the bar or something.
Yeah, but what I don't like, then why are you? So, for example, if I cared about how something worked, I wouldn't search for the negative of that all the time.
You wouldn't try and disprove something?
First, I would try to understand it. And I went through your posts and I've gone through tons of flat earther posts. And 95% of it is, I don't understand this thing, therefore it's wrong. And I mean, that's basic stuff, because I like science a bit, but I studied at a university level some stuff, but that was a long time ago, and I'm not intimately involved in it. But even I can see the glaring flaws in a lot of stuff that's in 90% of the stuff that's being posted. And when it's pointed out, because there are jerks there. I'm not complaining. I mean, you take a lot of shit. I'm not pretending. You take a lot of shit. I understand that. But there are people who want to help and point out, like, you understand that this is because of this, right? And then it's just radio silence. And the reason why it's radio silence is because you don't really care. You're just trying to find the flaws.
Or you don't know. There's some things I don't know, but from what I have looked at, the proof is NASA. That's it. I don't believe them, so I've got nothing. I have nothing to prove it with.
There are many more space agencies than NASA. If you want to say that the only proof is that we can send something into orbit, there have been many things sent into orbit by many different companies, private as well as public.
The private ones are all contracted by the government.
No, there are tons of private launchers who launch private satellites for other companies. There are tons. What are you talking about? Half of the communication satellites
that wasn't contracted by the government.
Half of the private communication satellites are sent up by private companies. There are literally 14. There's more than a dozen companies that launch satellites privately.
Name one.
Ugh, you want me to go through the list? Okay, sure. I mean, and this is what I'm saying.
There's two kinds of satellites. Right?
There's
the kind you can send up on a balloon.
The
kind to orbit the globe. The kind that we care about are the ones that are orbiting the globe. Nobody's done that. The government's the only ones that have done that.
No.
Okay, then name one.
Well, SpaceX put up their own satellites. Right? No, they put up their own satellites. Literally their own satellites.
That's what I'm saying.
They are not contracted by any government.
Third party.
Pardon? They have put up their own satellites for themselves.
They work with NASA, right?
Also.
Yes.
But they also put up their own stuff.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. There's no independent third party that has nothing to do with the government's, just
Telsat.
University or
Telsat.
I don't know, Walmart or something.
Telsat.
What is that?
It's a satellite company that sends up communication satellites.
So do they send them up, or do they give them to NASA and NASA?
They send them up. There are a bunch of
rockets.
Look. Again, I'm not defending this. I'm telling you that you don't want to see that evidence, so you lump it under.
That's so they got up there.
So the first
launch rockets. Where do they launch them?
There are tons.
It's
yeah. There are.
You believe that all these things have happened. What I'm trying to tell you is that they haven't happened. That's how the globe mindset works, and it's hard to see.
No. The way the globe mindset works is there are thousands of people working on this daily. There are private companies and investors in those private companies who have to answer to those shareholders who want their money and want to see progress. And all of those things are happening, and you don't want to see it. And then you say, believe me, it doesn't happen. And I'm not going to believe you, because you're one guy who doesn't even know what he's talking about. And admittedly,
where they launch their rockets.
Find out. They're companies.
Why am I finding out? This is all you.
No. You said.
I already know that none of this is happening.
You said no. Okay.
Here's who does it, but I can't tell you any details.
You already know it doesn't happen, except you don't know what the names of the companies are that don't happen. Like, you have to understand how silly you sound. Like, I know this doesn't happen, but I don't even know who's not happening with.
It's no different than what you said about the picture on the left. There's no difference. You said the light has to have been that way because the picture exists.
What I'm saying is
happen because the Earth is flat.
No. My
around the ball. That's how I know it doesn't happen.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Is just your one simple proof. Anything.
I've given you my proof.
It's curving. I can't do it.
I've given you my proof. It's fine. But what I'm saying is, because we're not even talking about that anymore. What I'm talking about is the fact that it's obvious that you don't really want to know, because first of all, you're saying, I this doesn't happen. And then when I say it does, you say, well, I'm not going to look. I know it doesn't happen, and I'm not even going to go look into it. So the fact that, and this is exactly what I was talking about.
Just tell me who it was. If you
This
don't know, then you're just bullshitting.
I literally just gave you the name.
I get it. You believe it happens. That's fine.
I literally just gave you a name, and there are dozens more. But what I'm telling you is, the thing that I find funny about flat earthers is that as soon as something is presented that goes against what you're thinking, you run away from it right away. It's super funny. So I've don't look it up or don't. I don't care. But there are tons of private companies all working in aerospace. Some of them can launch. Lots of them own and operate satellites, and they have nothing to do with the government. Literally nothing to do with the government. And then on top of that, there is absolutely no reason why a government is worse than a private company for telling the truth. They both lie. They both tell the truth. There's no, like, you're putting arbitrary lines on who or what you would believe, and as soon as evidence comes between those arbitrary lines, you just move the arbitrary lines because you don't really want to know. And that's what I find funniest and most interesting about the conspiracy theories in general, but flat Earth in particular, is that all of the effort you make is defending yourself from your idea. That's all the effort. I mean, I've never seen, like, you literally, we've talked for over an hour and a half, and you still don't have a model that works. Not even a map. I mean, you don't have
a model that works either.
You don't have the time. I do have a model that works,
because does not work.
It literally does.
Examples of why it does not work.
You showed what you mentioned, one picture, and that's your proof. Whereas I showed that you can't even see the sunset. And I didn't even go into the literally thousands of other things that are wrong with it. But it's cool. It's fine. I'm not going to convince you. I know I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just pointing out how funny it is that you point to one picture that one dude took on a thing, and that's your thing doesn't work. And then when I say, but you have nothing, you've literally shown me nothing that works. Not even one thing you've shown me works. Not one little thing that you've shown me has any relevance, works at all. You can't even see the right stars. Everything's moves wrong. You can't see the sun. The path in the sky is wrong. There's no way to travel anywhere because all the maps are wrong. If I go this way, it's not actually this way. Like, literally nothing works on your thing. And yet you're the one who's like, yeah, but look at this picture. So the globe is a lie. I mean, it's super funny. And not only that, look at this picture. The globe's a lie. So now I won't believe anyone who says anything about it. Like, you're like, the position of flat earthers is the funniest position I'll admit I'm fascinated by it, because it's you get together and you go down your conspiracy theory rabbit holes, and you get in your little circle jerks. You have so much fun looking at videos of the ISS, and there's a glitch in the compression and trying to figure out what it is. And meanwhile, you don't even have a map. You don't even have anything. You couldn't even navigate based on your stuff. It's super funny. You couldn't even get to a town over. It's hilarious. It's super funny. So
I keep saying that, but like I said at the beginning, Google Earth is just universal transverse Mercator projection. That's all it is.
Which is a projection of the globe.
It's a rectangle. And you're saying, well, somewhere in there it's going to be wrong.
No.
I don't know where.
No, it's going to be right.
You say it's wrong because you assume the globe.
No, it's
already flat. What if I just said that is the real map?
Then it wouldn't work.
And we do the whole Pac-Man thing around the edges.
Then it wouldn't work.
Why?
Because, well, you would first of all have to come up with an explanation of how the Pac-Man thing around the end works. And second of all, you'd have to come up with an explanation why none of the sizes and distances of half of most of the thing on that map work at all. So when you try to navigate from here to there without understanding that it's a projection of a globe and using it as a physical reality, and you don't end up in the right place, then you would have to explain that.
You're back to saying that again. When has this ever been done? Like when you fly a plane, you don't just, I'm going to draw my line on this map, and I'm just going to follow this line on this map. That's not how you do it.
Well, in the past you used to, and now you do that digitally, and the digital version of that is based on a globe.
It's based on towers on the ground telling you, oh, you're off course, you need to correct. You don't just fly in a straight line on a globe. That's retarded. Nobody does that.
Well, they don't have to, because we've built all of this infrastructure to not have to. But your flight plan is on a globe. Like everything's on a globe.
So what happens if we did then? Let's say I started at the equator on the globe, and I just flew in a straight line to the North Pole, never turned at all, and then came out the other side onto the equator. Where do I end up?
If you flew on a straight line north and then hit the North Pole and then flew straight line south,
Yeah.
is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Then you would end up on the other side of the planet.
Right, but the planet has rotated around.
Oh yeah, there's the.
I ended up right back where I started.
Well, no, you wouldn't.
Straight line over the top.
No, you wouldn't. you wouldn't end up on it. It would depend on how long your flight is.
Well, let's just say it's 12 hours. Where would I land?
If you flew, it depends on where you're getting your straight line from. Because I know you want to go to Coriolis. It's fine. I have no problem with that. That's cool. I like Coriolis. It's a fun thing. It depends on what you're using to define your straight line. What are you using to define your straight line?
I don't understand. Can you fly on a straight line on a globe? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so why are you asking me where I'm getting the straight line from?
Because if you're following a straight line on the globe in a plane, then you will end up on the other side of the world.
So I rotate with the Earth, right?
Yes.
So
You would correct your plane.
Correct for Coriolis effect ever.
Pardon?
A plane would not have to correct.
It does have to correct all the time. Everything that's in the air has to correct for Coriolis, but it doesn't have to, because that force is so tiny compared to all the other forces that it has to deal with. Like, give you an example. If you take off in the 45th parallel. No, listen to this. Listen to this. I want to tell you because I did. No. I did a great back of the envelope math on this because I knew you were going to bring it up. Super funny. The Coriolis effect. If you take off, if you're flying on the 45th parallel, if that's where you take off, the Coriolis effect is 300 times smaller than the wind going from 20 to 30 knots. So 300 times smaller. So a little gust of wind, a little change in wind overwhelms the Coriolis effect by 2 orders of magnitude. So Coriolis effect is a thing that affects things that are in the air, but all of the other stuff that's affecting it is way more important. So when I ask you that, what is your straight line in reference to? If your straight line is in reference to the ground, it's super easy to fly over the North Pole and back, over the North Pole and onto the other side, because you're using the ground as a reference. It's totally fine, but there's still a Coriolis effect happening, but it's tiny compared to course corrections to keep you on the straight line because you went through the jet stream.
I mean, I wonder sometimes how much time people like you even spend on this, because that's not even what the Coriolis effect is. I mean,
okay.
You look it up on Wikipedia. It's so fucking simple what it is.
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing that's just blocking you is just it doesn't happen in an airplane, right?
It absolutely anything that's
reference frames.
Anything that's untethered to the world, anything that's untethered to the world, physically tethered to the planet, anything that's untethered to that motion experiences the Coriolis effect. And in fact, that's you even
right.
The airplane
tethered to it.
It's so the Coriolis effect and then the magnitude of the Coriolis effect
come on, just answer the question.
Because
is the airplane in the rotating reference frame or not?
The Coriolis effect.
You can't answer the question.
Yes, I'm trying to answer it, but you keep interrupting me.
Answer no question. Is the airplane in the rotating reference frame or not?
Yes. But the
Coriolis effect requires 2 reference frames. Yes or no?
the Coriolis effect happens
Yes or no?
when you move.
All right, you're not going to answer it.
Listen.
I asked you a yes or no question. You can't answer it.
Listen, I'm trying to explain it to you. I know, but you're not letting me answer because you don't want me to answer, right? Like you don't want to hear the answer.
Say yes or no, and you can't do it.
I'm trying to give you the context.
I don't need the context.
Yes, you do, because you don't understand it.
No.
Yes, you do, because you don't understand it. I've read your post. You don't understand it. It's fine. I'll try and give you the context if you want. If you don't,
This is insane.
it doesn't matter.
You won't answer that question, will you?
I am trying to explain to you how what the Coriolis effect is. So if you are not tethered to you start out, if you take off on the equator, you have the momentum, the momentum of the rotation of the planet. If you move north,
the rotating reference frame when you start, okay.
If you move north, the speed with which the ground is rotating changes. The velocity changes
With respect,
relative to what you started at, and there is an effect there.
so the ground is moving underneath the plane.
Yes, that being said, the atmosphere is also tethered to the planet, and the atmosphere is interacting with you, so pushing on you, and then there's the wind and everything on top of it. So the Coriolis effect absolutely happens in a plane. It is so minute that it doesn't matter, is what I'm trying to tell you. The Coriolis effect, once you leave the planet, once you get off the surface, you're now semi-tethered, I guess you could say, because you're still in the atmosphere, which is tethered, but it's a fluid, so it's moving a bit. It's not, you're not on a physical surface anymore. And you even if you step
but you're
on the
still in a
ground,
rotating reference frame though. You're just rotating slower. See,
you're
that's not the Coriolis effect.
the reason why there's an
You're not
effect.
rotating one.
The reason why there's an effect is because the rotational velocity that you have is different as you move north or south, or even east and west a bit as well. If you're not on the equator, if you're on the equator, it doesn't really change.
But you're still rotating.
Of course you are. Yeah,
So you got 2 rotating reference frames.
you're rotating at a different in a different reference frame. Yes, I mean if you want to think of it that way.
The Coriolis effect requires a rotating one and a non-rotating one.
No, it takes
It says that on
different.
Wikipedia. You can look it up. I'm not going to go any further.
The non-rotating reference frame. No, listen to me.
Not the
No, listen to me. The non-rotating reference frame you're talking about is viewing the plane from outside of the Earth. That's the inertial reference frame, not the plane.
So
Not the
the
plane.
plane does not experience it. It just rotates with it. So what is it correcting for?
You.
Coriolis effect, because it's not experiencing a Coriolis effect.
Yes, it is.
Because it's in a rotating reference frame.
Yeah.
It's just getting
Wow.
around. You can go wherever you want. It's not the Coriolis
That's fantastic. You can watch the chorus. Go get on a kid's merry-go-round and throw a ball. That's the Coriolis effect. It's super easy to see. The ball's still rotating. You're still everything is moving. And anyway, I'm fascinated by this. I'm fascinated by it. It's fascinating how you've tried to understand this and not
happens in real life. Like, okay, we're on the merry-go-round and we throw the ball over the middle. The thing that I threw the ball at is not there anymore, right?
Yes.
That never happens in an airplane. So in that example, the ball is not the airplane.
So
an airplane's not correcting for an effect that never happens.
It does happen. It's just really small. It does happen. It's just really small. As soon as you leave the Earth, you have a rotational. It's not.
You have 2 rotating reference frames. You don't have one rotating and one inertial. That's what the Coriolis effect is. 2 reference frames. Not 2 rotating reference frames. One rotating, one not rotating.
When the plane untethers from the Earth, it has a certain velocity, rotational velocity, tangential velocity.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
Yeah. As it moves north, it keeps that same velocity, but the ground below it is going at a different velocity. So if you're in an inertial reference frame watching that, you see the plane go straight, that we're ignoring that the wind's there and all this stuff. You see that the plane's going straight and the Earth is spinning beneath it slowly at first, and then the more north it gets, the faster it would spin.
All right, and that point where somebody's watching it is out in space, so nobody actually sees that.
Well, I mean, if you're on the ground, I mean, the thing is, you're not understanding the magnitude, which is negligible. So
I'm just asking.
But if you wanted to design a system where the plane was flying super fast and there was no atmosphere and blah blah blah, you could stand on the ground and look at it, and it would look like it's going to the side. It would look like it's curving.
That's how they say that intercontinental ballistic missiles work. They say that it goes up so high that it rotates underneath, and they have to account for that.
Yes.
Okay, that doesn't happen in an airplane. It just flies straight there and just rotates with the Earth as it goes.
Because the magnitude of the magnitude is
so,
the magnitude of the force, or the apparent force, is so small that it's negligible. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Those are two different things. It definitely exists and definitely doesn't matter, which is a true statement. So
it's not a true statement.
Yes, it is. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't exist.
It
doesn't exist.
The effect exists.
A rotational reference frame.
The effect exists.
You have two rotating ones.
And affects an airplane so little that it doesn't matter, because of all the things that I've explained to you.
It doesn't matter because it's not Coriolis effect. It's just.
It is the Coriolis effect.
It's an assumed thing that should be happening that just never happened.
It is the Coriolis effect, but it's so small that it's not measurable.
Like,
I don't understand. It's a huge, another like theme, another like flat earther theme that's super funny is you guys cannot understand magnitude differences. It's really funny.
So simple.
Super funny.
All right, here we go. Plane on the ground on the equator. Rotating reference frame. Takes off. Is it still in a rotating reference frame? Off the ground. In the air. Rotating reference frame?
The plane is rotating with the Earth, yes.
All right. At what point does it not rotate with the Earth?
It's always rotating with the speed that it so if you want to, like, let's pretend the atmosphere doesn't push it, all right? Like, because there's a force of the atmosphere. If it's slowed down, for example, the atmosphere is rotating too. But it stays in the perfect situation, it would stay rotating. In fact, well, it speeds up or it slows down relative to, because in order to stay in the air, it has to go faster, right? So it's not rotating at the same speed as the Earth ever. Once it, I mean, literally to take off, it has to go faster. So I'm not sure what you're.
No. It has to be. It has to be rotating at the same speed as the ground. Because
when it's on the ground and then it rotates.
The ground moving sideways as you're heading north, right? It has to be moving the same speed as the ground.
Well, it has to be. It depends on which way you're facing.
We're flying straight north, right?
Okay, flying north.
We're on the equator, flying straight north.
And as you go north,
fastest sideways velocity.
Yeah, exactly. And as you go north, yeah, as you go north,
here to move sideways underneath me, right?
If you could go in a theoretical straight line without the all of the other effects that are orders of magnitude bigger, then you would slowly see, as you go further north, the ground under you moving sideways more.
All right. Has that ever happened?
No, because of the magnitude of that is so small compared to everything else. What I mean by that is,
okay, all right,
there is no way you could fly a plane straight enough to see that.
So this is what you have to get into these weird positions where there's no straight lines anymore.
I don't understand what you mean by that.
The plane flies in like a corkscrew motion around the top. It can't fly straight, right? It
depends on in reference straight as in reference to what? And that's why, what was my point in my first question? Is the straight in reference to the ground? You can fly straight in reference to the ground.
Straight lines don't exist.
Yes, they do. You can fly in a straight line reference to the ground.
And the ground would move
Can-
underneath you.
Can you? Not if you stay on a straight line.
Could the ground move sideways underneath you if you flew in a straight line?
Like I said, it depends on what your reference point is.
Is it possible?
You can fly. Can you walk in a straight line?
There we go again.
No, I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you a question. Can you walk?
You either see it or you don't.
Do you know how to walk in a straight line?
Yeah.
Well, the plane can fly in the straight line too. It could follow you.
Okay.
You could walk in a straight line, the plane could follow you.
Does the ground ever rotate sideways underneath my V? No.
It does in an infinitesimally small amount that you wouldn't notice.
So if I jump in the air, what happens?
If you jump static in the air and land on your spot, if you jump static, if you go straight up and come back down, nothing has changed, and you've landed in the exact same spot.
So you said it rotated by some small amount underneath my feet. What is that?
Not if you jump straight up and down.
Okay, how do I get the rotation?
If you walk. Because then you're changing your position, the ground beneath your feet, one step forward is moving, one step forward north is moving infinitesimally smaller velocity than the ground under the foot that you left with. So if you hop forward, you technically experience the Coriolis effect. You just will never see it. But you can walk in a straight line and that effect will never show up. And you can fly over your straight line. Looking at your straight line that you just walked, I can fly over that. I don't see what the problem is.
The problem is you will never fly a plane and see the ground moving sideways underneath you.
Exactly.
That is the Coriolis effect.
And
moving sideways underneath you is the Coriolis effect.
And what I'm telling you, and what I'll repeat and keep repeating, is the effect is there. It's too small for you to notice. It's orders of magnitude less than everything else that's happening. So
claim.
There's no.
That's your claim.
It's not the claim.
Math on it.
It's the math. I've done the math on it
very quickly.
It's pretty straightforward. And in the description, I mean, another thing I noticed that you love to do is to like read halfway down to Wikipedia when it gets to what you want to prove and then not read the rest. So if you read that, you'll read how small that effect is and that it only affects giant things that are moving really fast over long distances because the effect is so small. That's literally why.
That's just a qualifying statement. There's no numbers attached to that. There's nothing.
There are.
If you actually work the numbers, like I'm saying,
dude, go to school.
Okay.
Go to school.
Remember the ICBM, how they have to account for it? Yeah.
Go to school and learn the numbers.
Account for it.
Go to school and learn the numbers, man. There's no giant conspiracy behind it. Go and learn physics. All of your problems are because you didn't actually go and learn physics. Go and learn physics like the real way, like actually do it and understand it and do the experiments.
Answer a yes or no question.
What is your yes or no question?
I have to go through this whole thing again. Really?
I answered every question that you posed me.
Will you ever see the ground translate sideways underneath an airplane?
No, because the effect is too small, but it is there. I've answered that like 4 times.
That's saying yes and no at the same time.
No, it's not.
Like let's say I didn't adjust my airplane for anything. Would it show up?
If you didn't adjust your airplane for anything, you would go.
If I didn't make the Coriolis correction.
There is no Coriolis correction needed.
So how the fuck is the ground moving sideways?
If you're walking down the street,
stop changing it to another example.
Listen.
All you can ever do.
No. It's because
something other than
you know why I have to change it because you don't understand.
Possible that it's.
I have to keep changing the example because you don't understand. So if you're walking down the street,
no, I'm not gonna.
And a mosquito lands on your arm, do you have to correct your course because of the mosquito?
The fuck? Just it never happens. Admit it. I don't know why is this so difficult.
I don't understand what you don't understand about magnitude of effect.
There's no matter what I do, I can never fly an airplane and get the ground to move sideways underneath it as I'm flying in a straight line. It doesn't matter what I do; it's never going to happen.
The effect is too small. You're not going fast enough.
No, it's not that it's small. It doesn't happen ever.
Yes, it does.
Okay, when did it happen? Who's seen this? Is there a?
It's too small. It's too small. It's negligible compared to the other forces.
That's happening though. Even if it's small, it's happening.
Yes, I'm telling you, it's happening. It's just that what you want to see is flying and watching the world spin under you, and that's not what happens. That happens to satellites.
Correcting my course for something that never happens.
You don't have to correct your course.
When you read the frickin' flat Earth debunk sites, they have pilots that say, "Oh yeah, we correct for the Coriolis." That's what they say. What are they correcting for? You know, it's like, imagine if you just took off the plane, forgot to correct for it, you know, and then you would see the ground moving sideways underneath you, just because he forgot to correct for it. It's never happened.
Because it's too small it gets lost in the noise of the other things.
For it?
Pardon?
Why correct? What's the point? If it's too small to ever see, why correct?
There's if you're doing I don't know what to tell you, man. You're not a pilot. You don't know how to fly. You don't understand magnitude. There's literally nothing I can tell you to get you to understand it, which is fine.
Paradox that you don't have an answer to.
No, I've given you exactly the answer like 8 times, and
it's hard to wrap your head around how it can fool so many people for so long that nobody has ever seen the Coriolis effect happen in an airplane, but at the same time they're correcting for it. They're correcting for something that never happens. Do you see how that doesn't make sense?
It happens. It's always happening. It's happening to everything that's not. It's happening to.
It didn't happen.
It's happening to everything. I've said it's happening over and over and over and over again.
And it's
totally happening.
So if
it depends on your speed.
Am I correcting for something that's?
It depends on your velocity. It depends on your position on the globe. It depends on which way you're going, and in most cases and most of the time, it's tiny effect that doesn't have to be taken into account.
So why am I correcting for it? If it's so small, why are pilots saying they correct for it?
I don't know what you're talking about, honestly.
You can read a flat Earth debunk site. They'll say, "Oh yeah, we correct for it." Just Google it. They say they do it. If they do it, then it must be happening. It must be significant enough where we correct for it, right?
I guess so. Maybe on long distance flights, north south. Who knows?
If I forget to correct for it, what happens?
Pardon?
What if I forget to correct for it? What happens?
Well, what I'm trying to say is that's not how you fly a plane.
I just want to know what happens. And the only answer you can really say is that the ground would be moving sideways underneath me if I didn't correct for it.
Yes.
Okay, nobody's ever seen that happen.
How do you see that happen?
You look at landmarks on the ground, and you're like, "Oh, look at that! It's moving sideways."
At what speed do you think that's happening?
What the fuck does that matter?
The magnitude of the thing is exactly what matters. That's why you're having such a hard time. Do you think that from 35,000 feet you look down and you're like, "Oh, dude, that house is moving like super fast"? Like I don't understand what you're looking to see. What you're looking to see makes no sense because you don't understand the magnitude of what's happening. It's the same with
sideways at 25 miles an hour. You can't land.
Pardon?
Right? You'd hit the ground and your frickin' wheels would break off.
What?
If the ground is moving sideways at 25 miles an hour, you can't land the plane because your fricking wheels will break off.
How fast would you need to be going for the ground to be moving 25 miles an hour beneath you?
What the? It doesn't. I'm going straight, right? The ground is moving sideways.
Yeah.
It doesn't. If I'm going 100, then I'm going 100.
No, the Coriolis effect is based on your velocity and your location. So find out, how fast would you have to be going?
You don't. What? I'm going 100. Okay.
If you're going 100, the ground is not moving 25 miles an hour.
Ground's moving sideways at 25. I can't land.
It's not moving sideways at 25 if you're going 100.
It has nothing to do with how fast I'm going.
This is why you don't understand the effect, because you don't even understand how to calculate it.
6-hour flight. When I'm going to land the last 2 minutes, it doesn't matter if I'm going 100 or if I'm going 1,000. Ground's moving sideways at 25.
No, it's not.
I know it's not happening.
Because
nobody's ever seen that happen.
It's not happening because you don't understand how the Coriolis effect works. I keep trying to explain it to you that you don't understand.
Is not what's causing something to happen.
Your misunderstanding of it means that you think, like, again, I've seen this a bunch of times in your stuff. Like for example, I love the nose down thing where you take the whole flight and you have, if you actually plotted it, you have the plane flying through the ground to get to the other side. So you take big numbers and you crunch them all up wrong, and then you're like, look, this plane has to drop 800 feet every second, and it's totally wrong because you did all the math wrong. And this is another one that you got wrong. So it doesn't. The effect matters what your speed is right now and what your location is right now. So how fast do you have to be going to get the Earth's rotating at 25 miles an hour underneath you? Like really fucking fast, really fucking fast. So you're not landing.
My point is that nobody's ever seen that happen.
Because it can't, because no one goes whatever 800,000 miles an hour when they're landing a plane, however fast you need to go to get that to happen. Like,
you think it's based on your linear speed the moment you're landing?
It is based on your speed. Yes, that's how the Coriolis effect works.
The moment you're landing.
It's based on your speed.
That's what it's based on?
It's based on your speed at every moment.
No, the moment you're landing.
It's at every moment.
If I'm going 100, it'll be still, but if I'm going 1,000, it'll be moving a little to the right. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's how the Coriolis effect works. Because it's the change.
That's just ignorant, man.
It's not. It's literally how it works. It's the Coriolis effect is based on the change in rotational velocity of the ground underneath you. So if you want it to be change a lot, you got to go really fast.
It's 25 miles an hour. We know the change.
What do you talk? I don't even know where you're getting 25 miles an hour from. Where are you getting 25 miles an hour from? Where are you going? Where are you getting 25 miles an hour from?
I'm just throwing a small number out there.
Yeah, and I'm telling you.
If you want, nobody's seen 10 either.
Because you're not traveling fast enough. When you land.
That's not logical. That doesn't logically follow from anything.
It's literally
you making shit up.
It's literally how the Coriolis effect works. I know that you don't understand it. I know you don't understand it.
Having two reference frames.
Listen. It's super clear that you don't understand it.
Rotating at 1,000.
I've read all your posts about it.
Rotating at 200.
You have no idea what you're talking about when you talk about it.
100 miles an hour because I'm moving straight.
It's fantastic. And
because it doesn't happen because there is no rotating.
I thought I could figure out a way to explain it to you, but apparently I can't because man, you don't understand how it works. It's crazy how you don't understand that it works.
It's painful to listen to this, really.
I know it really is. I agree. I think it's fantastic. I mean,
this is why I don't get mad anymore, because even when I can put a simple example out and explain it simply, nobody's gonna understand anyway. It doesn't matter. So
because you don't understand.
Don't even worry about it.
So when I explain to you that the Coriolis effect, an important component is the two components are your speed and your location on the planet. And then you say, no, it means that you don't understand what you're talking about. I've lost your audio. I don't know if you lost. Hello. You still there? Looks like you're gone. Well, I'd like to thank our 3 viewers. That was super fun. I had an awesome time. Excellent. And since I'm the only one left in here, I'm going to go for my final screen, which is, it is physically impossible for the Earth to be flat. And it really doesn't take that much to understand that. But like we said, people don't really want to Flat earthers don't really want to actually know that. So with that, I'm going to figure out how to end this meeting. And we will see you later.